Shaffer. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Like Andor?
Ondor, like Nandor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Comics Cube, everyone. We are live with Nandor Fox Schaefer. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the show. You have give me a quick introduction for people watching. Who is Nandor Fox Schaefer?
Yeah, so I am a comic book writer and creator. I've been making comics since I was about 18, 19 years old. I'm 26 now, so it's been about 7 or 8 years. I have always wanted to be a writer since I was a young kid, and this has been my dream for so long, is to make comics and to create stories and to share my stories with people. And so I've published about 5 books so far. I'm working on my sixth one right now with my Kickstarter, The Fabled Offering. And but I've published my first 2 volumes of Seasons, which is my supernatural graphic novel series, and Man-Child, the first 2 issues of Man-Child, which is my kind of superhero slice of life action comedy series. And then I did an original graphic novel called Lifeline, where I worked with 7 different artists from all around the world. And I've published all of these through Kickstarter, crowdfunded all of these, and um, excited to talk about my new project.
That is pretty awesome. That's a lot of things to have done in like 8 years.
Thank you. I've people have told me that, and I really need to hear that because as a creator and someone who you're always comparing yourself to other people in the indie comic scene or just seeing other writers, put out their work, and it can be really discouraging because a lot of the time I feel like I'm too slow, and I feel like I'm a slow writer anyway. So like to hear that, it really means a lot.
Why do you love comics?
Oh, there's so many reasons. I mean, it all starts for me with the characters, and uh, in particular with superhero comics. I grew up, I got into comics because of, first and foremost, probably watching like the original X-Men movie or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and like the movies like really introduced me to these characters. And then when I found out about comics and like a comic book store, and learned that you could actually follow these characters, and that there's all this history of these characters and like where all these movies took their stories, it's from these, like the source material and what that is. And that was just like so exciting to me. And so I started reading them at a very young age and always wanted to go to the comic book store and, get as many comics as I could possibly get, bothering my parents about going to the shop and trying to find something that would, resonate with me. I fell in love with characters like Captain America in particular is probably my favorite Marvel character, maybe my favorite comic book character. But um, I really got into comics around the time that Brubaker was still on the book, and like
Yeah.
Fraction was on Invincible Iron Man, and Hickman was on Fantastic Four. And so that was just like such a exciting time for me, and an exciting time for someone who seen these characters on the big screen, but like to actually dive deep into their stories and to really like understand how sequential storytelling works. And that just like opened up a completely new world for me.
Who would you say is a creator that that really sparked the writing bug in you?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to, I don't think I'd be making comics without creators like Jonathan Hickman or Scott McCloud. Those are the two biggest creators, and people that I feel that I've learned so much from, and that really showed me the power of comic book storytelling. And like I said, with Hickman's FF run, but also his work on Avengers and New Avengers was like huge for me. And also his independent stuff, like the Nightly News and Red Mass for Mars and Pax Romana and East of West, and like all of those books were just like really instrumental in showing me just how amazing this medium is and this art form is. And then Scott McCloud is just, you read The Sculptor or Understanding Comics or Zot, and you read those books, and he just like picks apart what makes comics so special and amazing. And it just blew my mind. And I was like, I want to be like these guys. And like I want to do what they're doing because they're so interesting storytellers. Like people that make comics, you can do things in comics you just can't do anywhere else. And to see people harness the medium like they do, it boggles my mind. It's like so. I feel like comics are now more appreciated than they ever have been, but it's still not there because there's such great storytellers and there's so much talent there.
It boggles my mind. It boggles my mind when they maximize the medium, and it also boggles
Yeah.
my mind when others don't even try.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like, how could you not um, see this for what it is and just see like what you're wasting, like how much potential there is in this medium and how, it's important to um, look at it and understand real estate and understand pacing and understand page turns and all those things that you can use just to make everything you're trying to do with your story that much more impactful. And it's not just comics aren't just a place to get your Netflix pitch. Comics aren't just a place to get your movie made. Comics are a place unto itself for a beautiful art form and a art form unto itself that in some ways surpasses those other film or television. I mean, there's each has their place, but it's really a very special playground to play in, and it's unique enough that it warrants its own mastery. You can't do things in other mediums that you can do in comics and vice versa. And people like we always talk about like Grant Morrison or Alan Moore, people like that. You look at what they're able to do, and you can't believe it. It makes it like this is almost impossible. How are you able to do this?
And I'm so glad that you mentioned Zot, because I don't think that book gets talked about enough. Zot
It doesn't.
is,
No. Yeah.
yeah, Zot's superhero stuff is really good. Zot's black and white stuff when he's on Earth is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. That I went to I remember the first time I found Zod, I was at a local bookstore actually, and they had a copy of a collection of Scott McCloud's Zod series in like a manga format, and it was all in black and white. And I picked it up, and it was like discounted or whatever, like it was on sale, and it was like finding a jewel. Like I came home and I started reading it, and I was just like, why don't people talk about this more? I mean, everyone talks about understanding comics and what Scott McCloud has brought to the conversation, like on an academic level, but his storytelling capabilities and his art style and just everything he was able to do with that book, and then other things he's worked on. Man, like I love talking about him and his work.
Talk to me about how much your understanding of comics is, changed, or let's say improved or evolved when you started working with artists.
Oh, that's a great question. When I started writing comics, when I was working on my first book, Seasons, I didn't even have an artist in mind. I didn't know who I was gonna work with or what that collaboration process would be like. I had an idea of what it might be like, but when it's different when you're actually in that mode and you're working with the artist and you're having that back and forth and you're learning about um, how much is too much dialogue on a page, how much is too many panels on a page, and learning about that real estate and what the artist is capable of doing and what they prefer. And every artist is different, and that's been something that I've really tried to keep in mind when I'm working on a book or a different project, and I'm working with a different artist. It's like, okay, what what do they excel at? What do they prefer? What kind of um, how much detail in the scripts do they prefer? Do they want more of a one-on-one, like how many phone calls are we going to have about this page or the story or whatever? And so um, it really opened up um, the world of the creative process when it comes to comics. And I mean, two heads are better than one, and the final product of what you're creating is just so much better when you guys are both in sync and you're able to um, bring out each other's strengths. And sometimes, it's less is more. Like sometimes that's in the writing, sometimes that's in the art, and the product just becomes overall better.
And you've done some of your comics are on Webtoon. What
Yes.
is what's the challenge there moving from a print format to Webtoon?
Oh, it really is a different kind of beast. And Webtoon in particular, you can get buried there so easily. It's really hard to stand out there and to really get people to read your stuff. And I have Seasons on there, which is my first book that I did, and that originally came out as a printed comic, as a hardcover, and we formatted it for Webtoon afterwards, to get more readers and get more eyes on the project. And just that whole process of formatting it and trying to capture the same story beats and the same like impact is really different when you're working on a vertical scrolling type of pacing and format. So it's it's definitely brought me new readers, and I think it's worth investigating and trying to see what you can do with that platform. But I have such a love for the printed book, and especially um, the 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 way a page breaks down, that I feel like on Webtoon or Tapas or other platforms where it's the scrolling feature, it just I feel like you lose some of the magic of the comic, and you do gain something sometimes, but um, I prefer just like the physical book.
And speaking of that, let's get to the Fabled Offering. Um, for anyone who doesn't know what the Fabled Offering is about, I've placed a link in the Kickstarter. Tell us what the Fabled Offering is all about.
The Fabled
I
Offering,
played the link
yeah.
in the live chat. Tell us what the Fabled Offering is about.
Yeah, sure. The Fabled Offering is my newest project. It is a 40 plus page mature sci-fi fantasy one shot about a grand princess on a quest to save herself from her own past traumas and to save her kingdom as well. She is pregnant, and she is trying to meet the ancient Cizin, who is this ancient deity of this world, one of the ancient deities, and she is all alone on her journey while carrying her unborn child and trying to make a bargain. Saizen is the ever witness, the great bargainer, the Sendeo Maya is what he's called in the book, and he is, like I said, this ancient deity that she's trying to get to. That is, if people look at his character, is not such a nice guy. His character design, he looks like a real baddie, and um so she's basically going into enemy territory to present this offering, but her motivations for doing so, what the offering is, if Sizen will accept this offering, is up for the reader to discover.
And right now, you have a goal of $4,500 US dollars. With 8 days left to go, you have 142 backers. You are almost there. You got $4,025. You're $475 away from meeting your goal. Um,
Right.
feel like that's a foregone conclusion. You're working with an artist named Marco Roblin. Describe him for us. How did you find him, and what is it about his style that that got you?
Yeah, Marco Roblin is such a joy to work with. He's, I think, out of any artist I've ever worked with, he is the most enthusiastic and most passionate artist that I've met. And I really, on a previous Kickstarter campaign I had backed, I think a year or so ago, called The Numinous Nomads. And it was this time travel action thriller book. And he was doing the art for it. And I was like, completely amazed at it. Like it blew me away when I saw his stuff. And I have this little short list of artists that I write down, like people I'd love to work with, or just kind of have in mind for covers or sequentials or whatever projects that might come to mind for me. And so on the Fabled Offering, I wonder if he's available. Like, would he be interested in doing something like this? Would our schedules align? All that kind of stuff. And he was, and I just reached out to him. I was able to get his contact info and found him on social media or whatever. And he was so excited about this project when I pitched it to him. And I put together this visual document of like character designs and the world building aspects and like lore and all that kind of stuff that prepare your artists. Like this is kind of what you're envisioning the book to look like. And so what really struck me about his work, and for people that look at his pages, um it's so detailed, and it's so
Hmm.
abstract at the same time, which is really interesting. His color work in particular, and like the marriage of those two is really fascinating to me. I look at his work and I feel like I am investigating it. Like I have to investigate it. I have to take time. I love that because every time I look at one of his pages and every time I look at what he can do, I'm always discovering something new and interesting and exciting about the page that I never had seen before. And it just makes the quality of the more full and satisfying to me. And it's not like you can look at it, you can finish it, and then you can like put it away and like know everything you got. It's like I want rereadability, and like people to go back to the comic and go back to the story and find layers. And that's something that his work brings out so well. And that's a big reason why I wanted to work with him, because the Fabled Offering is very much a layered project in its themes and its messages. Um, I feel like on a visual level, like you have to find someone that can meet that, that really can't just exaggerate that on such a level that would make it, that much more.
I'm getting looking at his work, I'm getting a kind of Liam Sharp meets heavy metal.
I
Uh
love that. Yes. I actually I reached out to Liam Sharp like oh if he like was available for like a cover for the project, or like I love Liam Sharp so much and I love his work, and that was like a huge, I would look at Liam Sharp's work and think that's like what I'm going for. That's really what I want. So I'm glad you could.
can you talk to me about your writing process? Like how do you, how do you get into the heads of characters, specifically, somebody that, a pregnant woman, for example.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and then how do you structure that in a story?
Yeah, so this is the first project that I've ever worked on, the first story I've ever worked on where the lead, the protagonist, is a female, which was something that I was really, every time I approach a story, I want it to be challenging. I want to find new things to challenge myself as a writer, and that was something I'd never done before. So that was exciting. But I added on top of it. I was like, okay, what else do? As a challenge to me, and it all starts. The stories always start with the character for me, and like what what I'm trying to say with them and what like their role. No plot if there's no character to latch onto, to like relate to feel their pain and their joys and their sorrows and their loves and all that stuff. And so Aurelia in particular, being um, warrior was uh, such an interesting contrast, because she is a warrior princess, and she's just gotten done fighting this huge war, winning this huge war against this race called the Macmol, who's a huge race of like creatures, and they've been fighting their kingdom of Talendius for a long time. And we start the book seeing that she's victorious over them, and she has won this war, and now she do with herself. She fears the quiet. She fears, once you've accomplished that task, once you've accomplished that goal, like what do you do? Where do you find yourself? What's your new purpose? What's your new mission? And that was like something that I could latch onto, and I was like, well, what could happen to this character that would be in this position, and like what someone who has been fighting most of her whole life to switch gears and like you as a fighter, she's a protector and she's a defender, and mothers are definitely that, but to um somewhat handicap the warrior, it's like she's not going to be as fast as she was. She's going to have to really not only think about her own life, but think about protecting the life of her child, and think about not being able to do the same things that you'd be able to do in your prime. And so I thought that just would raise the stakes of what this character is going through, and also um, have the reader feel that much more like emotionally connected to the character, because I want mothers to be able to read this book and understand what Aurelia is going through, or um, understand what it is like to have something so valuable and fragile that you would want to protect, or try to understand, why is she going on this journey alone? Why isn't no one else there with her, like protecting princess? And that's a mystery too. It's like not only is she a princess alone on this quest, she's a princess alone on this quest, bearing a child. And so it's just like there's something there that I thought was really compelling, and so that's where we started. And then I was trying to everything about the entire project and where the plot would go, and the meaning of the story, just started there, and all came together. But what would something like this look like in a fantasy setting? It was like really exciting to me.
And we are on Kickstarter, so we're talking about different tiers, different stretch goals. Can you talk to us about the different tiers that you're offering to your backers?
Yeah, so we have 6 different covers to choose from. We have Marco Roblin's main cover, which is a wraparound cover, which is the first that I've ever done with any of my projects. So that's really exciting, and that features Aurelia and characters that you'll get to know in the story. And then we also have covered by Will Playdon, which is a traditionally painted cover. And then we have another cover by Cortez Flavio, and then another cover by Ricardo Latina, who Marco Rudy, he worked on Winter Soldier for Marvel, and he also worked on Swamp Thing with Scott Snyder during the New 52 era. He's one of my favorite artists. That he actually did a cover for Man Child issue 2 as well. So I love working with him. So there's a lot of different covers to choose from, which is great. A lot of variety. You can kind of pick what you like. And then I also have like collector's editions where you can get the book signed, and you can get a Kickstarter exclusive art print. And then you can also get your name in the book, and the story. and that is the highest tier. But it's really exciting because if you're a backer and you want to be like immortalized in a comic book, this would like be the way to do it. And something that's cool about this project in particular is that like maybe you want to look like a Jedi or look like your D&D character, or maybe you want to look like, like you want an extra leg or arm or whatever. Like we can do anything in this kind of like science fiction fantasy setting. So I know I think we have at least one or two people that have backed at that tier.
Yeah, it says
An
so.
original sketch. Yeah, I had an original sketch tier available, but those have all sold out. So that Marco Roblin um, was going to provide original sketch. So you can still get that sketch if you get the drawn into tiers are cumulative, so they all like stack on top of each other the higher you go. But yeah, so there's a good amount of variety in terms of like price points and like different covers and different collectability that you can get.
Yeah, you did mention, in your description that this is for people who like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Seven to Eternity, Dune, D&D.
Yeah.
So, what about stretch goals? Are you offering any after those tiers?
Yes. So if we hit 5K, which is just 500 above the funny goal, every backer, every physical backer, gets a chibi sticker of Grand Princess Aurelia, and you get that sticker in your package completely for free. So that'll be a little add-on that you get in your package. And then if we hit 6K, we unlock a Grand Princess Aurelia trading card by a pal of mine, Levi Hoffmeyer, who designed it and did the art for it. Um, so that's really exciting. I kind of wanted to stay in, fantasy, like people that might love Magic the Gathering or just like role playing trading card games. We can get a trading card available for them. And then one, I don't know if we'll hit it, but there is a stretch wide edition of the book that every backer would get that in their package as well. So you would get the colored version by Marco Roblin, and then you get like the stripped down director's cut version that would include the inks only, so,
Like
some
a
behind
raw
the scenes
cut.
material and that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a
Well,
raw cut.
Marco's inks are just so, yeah, they're so stunning to me. And when he sends me the inks, I sometimes I like like I'm glad we did. I'm glad Marco does the colors as well. But there's a purity to black and white that I love, and every time I see it, I love what he's able to do.
Nandor, tell me after this, because this is a one shot, what do you have planned next?
Yeah. So while this is a one shot, depending on how well we fund and also what the reception is for this book, Marco and I definitely would love to it, and I definitely have some ideas of where we could take this world. Aurelia's story is here in this book. You get a beginning, middle, and end, and so you get her full arc in the story. But more we could do. So hopefully we can like do more in the Fabled Offering world and do that. But I also have coming next year, Manchild issue 3, and
Mhm.
I also have Seasons Volume 3. We're going to be starting putting that out. Also, am working on a new secret project that I'm very excited about that I can't announce yet, but I'm really excited to be working on it. And it's something that I've been working on this year on and off. So it's a new story that I have. And then also, I should have a short story of mine published next year and an anthology. I think it's Mavericks. I forget the subtitle, but it's going to be a Mavericks anthology.
Nice. Here's my last question, which is fill in the blank. If you like blank,
Okay.
you should read the Fabled Offering.
Ooh. Ah. I think the the best answer to that would be, if you, and I know we mentioned it earlier, if you like Seven to Eternity by Rick Remender and Jerome Pena, that is the comic that showed me you could do a mature fantasy story and do it exceptionally well. Not just like pretty good or great even, but like masterfully. So if you enjoyed that series and that book, then you're gonna love the Fabled Offering.
That's awesome. So the Fabled Offering, the link to the Kickstarter is in the chat. Everyone, please go ahead if that sounded great to you. Go back it. You are $475 away from meeting your goal. Good luck. I feel like I'm going to give you an advance congratulations. Uh, Thank you for joining the Comics Cube. This was fun.
Yeah, I loved it so much. Thanks again for having me. I've been watching your show for a while, so this is like such a pleasure to be on here.
Thank you, Nandor. Thank you for coming on, and good luck with your book.